Okay, so this is since the last time I spoke to Daryl, I decided to look and research and try to find who he was talking about. And the only one I could come up with was someone by the name of Danny Whitten, which he was a guitar player musician. I didn't know who he was, but I knew Neil Young, who he played with. And sometimes band members, you don't know the names all the time, at least not for me. But so he was looking for Danny Whitten, and he said Danny Whitten was connected to something else, that he had some information and he forgot what he was supposed to remember. So I'm thinking this is really strange because he said it happened before I was born, and that's not true. It was 1972. But I'm gonna go in and see if I can have a discussion with Daryl and see what he has to say about this. All right, he said you're right. I guess you were alive then. I was confused about the time. It does happen to me often. I asked him what happened after he got his ride. He said they were going in the wrong direction. I didn't get there on time. I grabbed the wrong vehicle, and that's why this all happens. I said, can you go back and change the time and change everything? And he said, I don't have time now. It opened up a gateway when he died, and so now I have to leave. Is it better off that you leave? He said, probably so. It's getting kind of bad around here, and the energy is very strange. And I said, I remember in the 70s there was a point where I just thought everything was really weird. There was just a lot of drugs and people were acting odd, kind of like everyone was in a fog. But I didn't think it was just the drugs. I felt like it was something else. And he said that's correct. He agreed with me. He said, you don't know what opened up. He said they try to put everyone to sleep, forget who they were. With a lot of things that happened, and many people were starting to begin to remember who they were. This was a way of shutting it down. And I asked, well, who is this? This is not government or anything like that. Or I didn't think they had that kind of power through the media maybe at that time. He said, no, it wasn't the government. He says there's multiple powers on the earth. He said they've held humans here in place for a very long time. And he said the worst part about it is I almost got pulled in by it as well, and almost forgot who I was. And I would have played this whole thing out, kind of like Danny Whitten did. And I didn't need to. And I asked him, are you saying he's one of your people? He said, in a way, yes. He came back in time and was never quite happy here because we do have a memory of our situation in the future, of course, but he forgot the reason why he came here. And and then it didn't turn out right. He says, I feel like I failed. I let everyone down. I shouldn't have done what I did. Waited too long to find the paper that led me to his address. Someone gave it to me, and I dropped it, and I had to go find it again, but I was too embarrassed to say what happened. He said, I got distracted. He said, you know, there's a lot of distractions in your world. He said, it's not just, I know it gets worse. He says, but it's not just attention span. He says, literally, there's so much to take in. You think a lot more clearly in the future. We think that these things were created to cause distractions, so humans forget why they're here and get enticed by every little thing, kind of pulled in, sort of experiencing a superficial world of all sorts of sensations through the eyes, through the taste buds, through the ears, and forgetting what the purpose was for them to be there and the deeper knowing of who they are. And then they wonder why they end up empty, looking for that little fix. The addictions of drugs go along with the enticements, the quick needs for, something that feels good at that moment without looking for the everlasting. He said, I want to bury my head in the sand. I said, please, don't be so hard on yourself. Everyone has made mistakes, and I'm glad that you came to realize how difficult it is for people to stay focused on what's going on. Particularly at that time period. I remember that everything seemed a bit like a fog. People were in their own little worlds. And now that they've come out, they thought that they kind of shift and like a pendulum, they go from one extreme to another, and the extremes are severe in each generation. But either way, no one's finding that inner balance, and that has to stop. Just keep moving on. Let me help you. He said, my friends are waiting for me in a bungalow home. He said, yeah, they're, just relaxing there. He says, unfortunately, they started doing drugs as well, and I need to pull them all out now. I failed at my mission, so now we have a dangerous situation. I'm going to have to go. I asked him what happened to that guy with the clubbed feet. I said, is he someone that we have to be worried about? And he said, yes. He says, that's part of the reason. I'm glad that you reminded me of that. He said, yeah, but that's kind of in the back of my mind always. He said, more is coming. He said, I have to go to Kansas next. The hard part is convincing them that we all have to go. I can't tell you why we have to go there, but that might help delay things a bit. And I said, okay. He said, thanks for listening. And then he waved goodbye again. He gestured like, call me. All right, I will. And that's the end of the communication with Daryl. And Daryl is a time traveler, for those that are not sure about what I'm doing here, but he's literally a time traveler from our future. He's looking around for some things. He's trying to help change things for us. I don't know what the impact will be. That something about this musician by the name of Danny Whitten that played with Neil Young had some piece of information. I guess he never got that information, so he's kind of stuck, and he has to change some things. All right, so that's the transmission for today. Thank you for listening. Until next time.
Trouble, 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 bad dog in my soul since the day I was born.